So have you ever heard of what's called a Infostealer? We're going to be covering what are these things. Ultimately, they're going to be sitting silently, quietly stealing your personal information from your device. So in this video today, we're going to be covering what is a Infostealer, whether Macs are a target, what data they steal, and more importantly, how do they spread? How do you get one of these onto your computer? We don't want that to happen. And we're also going to show you how Moonlock can protect you from that. Hey, we love all things macOS security on this video, so why don't you follow along by clicking on that subscription button, click on the bell, that way you don't miss out on any of our video releases. And before we do get into this, I need to tell you about our awesome software called Moonlock, where Moonlock is there to protect you, to protect me, to protect my Mac from malware, from viruses, keeping your Mac safe. You know, Infostealers are a serious threat to the Mac, and Moonlock helps to protect you from these Infostealers, but also from spyware, from malicious downloads, from suspicious files, and from malware. And Moonlock's own research has covered major macOS Infostealers, so you need to make sure that you get Moonlock onto your computer to protect yourself. We don't want your data stolen. You need to install Moonlock so that you are safe. You can go and pick it up completely for free from our website. Try it for 7 days. And if you love it and you want to get it, also use that YouTube 10 code at checkout so that you can get yourself a discount so you can continue using it and continue keeping your Mac safe. So what is a Infostealer? As the name suggests, it is there to steal information. Running silently on a Mac, you won't even know that it's there, and it's designed to gather information so that it can be stolen from your computer and given to malicious actors. You know, the goal of these is not to destroy your computer, right? It's not used to make your computer run slow. It's actually harvesting information from your computer. And that's the scary thing, is that often you won't even know that it's running in the background, because sometimes when you do have malware, you are seeing some weird signs on your computer. But because this one is not as obvious, it can be running silently for a long time, harvesting that information off your computer. So some of the things that it can target right here are your passwords, your browser cookies, your session tokens, anything that you are browsing on that internet. It's going to look at your saved credit cards, maybe if you've got crypto wallets, your files, notes, screenshots, system information, and a whole bunch more. They're not good news, I'll tell you that. And the scary thing is that Infostealers often do then lead to further attack, because once somebody malicious has your information, has your passwords, has your credit card information, well, that can then be exploited. They could log into your services, they could steal data, go into your bank, and withdraw information. So you may be asking yourself, do Infostealers target Mac users? And the answer, unfortunately, is a big yes. The Mac is very susceptible to Infostealers, because there is a common myth that the Macs are not susceptible to attacks like this. And that may have been a thing eons ago, but that's not the case today. So you need to make sure that you stay protected from these things. You know, Microsoft reported that Infostealer campaigns have expanded beyond traditional Windows-focused attacks and are now targeting macOS using social engineering, which essentially is going to trick individual people, DMG installers, which are those main files on your Mac, being malicious, Apple script automation, and macOS specific stealers such as DigiStealer, MacSync, or the AMOS. And the main reason is that more and more people are using the Mac, yes, for personal reasons, but more and more for work. Ultimately, attackers are going to go where the value is. Where are the susceptible targets? So what's some of the data that Infostealers are commonly going to take? Your computer has got a whole bunch of passwords saved onto that computer. Maybe your browser is saving passwords. Like if you open up your browser, your Google Chrome, and you're automatically filling out the details, that could be a risk. Do you save credit card details on your browser? If you're gonna go and buy something online, do your credit card details automatically show up? Private, confidential information inside of the Notes app on your Mac. Well, that's a place that people like to go and poke around. Your emails, your messages, your files, there's a whole bunch. You know, and the big one are your browser cookies or your browser sessions. Essentially, when you're accessing a website, that website, so that it loads faster next time and it remembers some of your preferences from time to time, saves these things called cookies. essentially tracking information around your activity on that website. And sometimes these can be more dangerous than passwords themselves. So if an attacker steals your active session, they could potentially impersonate you and access data without even needing your password. You know, when you use multi-factor authentication, which is a great thing and you should be using it, essentially that second form of authentication on top of your password, if you've already authenticated into a website, that means you've already passed the password and your MFA code. But if your session or your token is there and that is stolen, then somebody could authenticate themselves and not have to re-authenticate using MFA because they've already got that session. Infostealers, for the most part, are going to be run by malicious actors, by criminals. So if you've heard of, for example, SaaS, software as a service, or PaaS, platform as a service, well, there is now malware as a service, where there are actually people that are paid to make these things work. So cyber criminals can now buy or rent malware as a service services. One perfect example here was one called Raccoon Stealer that has been live and active since at least 2019. And in forums around the internet, often underground, it was being sold as malware as a service. Once they've stolen your passwords, they resell those passwords. They resell your credit card details to other people who can then get those, buy those, and then use them. So how do these things spread? And that's the most important thing. And what are the signs that you need to look out for? They're going to be often through social engineering, or they're going to trick you into clicking on something. You think that it's legitimate, but it's not. Fake software downloads, fake updates, attachments on an email, a link on a website. Be always very, very careful whenever you're on the internet, whenever you're on a browser. Every email that you get in, check the signs of that email. You know, there's a whole bunch of these info stealers out there. And one of the more notorious ones that are out there is one called Atomic macOS Stealer, or AMOS. Targets your sensitive data directly from your macOS. And they're often disguised as something legitimate through an application that looks legitimate. Moonlock did report this one in July 2025 that the AMOS was upgraded with an embedded backdoor, essentially allowing attackers to maintain persistent access and run remote tasks after infection. Once they get in, they can execute commands directly from your terminal to get access to even more data. MacSync was another macOS stealer that you should know about. You know, Moonlock described this one as a major threat to Mac users, including recent campaigns where it was impersonating tools such as Claude and N8N. So it's going after these AI tools to make you think that they're legitimate, but they actually are not. Another two worth mentioning and worth looking out for is the Raccoon Stealer and the Red Line Stealer. So even if a specific stealer is more common on Windows, the same criminal model is now applying to the Mac more than ever, essentially to steal your data, steal your sessions, sell those logs, and then use them for bigger attacks. Obviously, if you receive an email that seems very personalized and it's been a spear phishing email to you, well, they've obviously done their research. They've gone onto your LinkedIn profile. Is the information just publicly available on LinkedIn? What about your personal life? Your Facebook, whatever social media that you're using, how vocal, how big are you into posting stuff, personal information about you on social media platforms? If the attackers know who you are, they know your history, they know where you work, they know your colleagues, they know your boss, everybody that is in your sphere of influence, well, then a phishing attack is going to look even more legitimate. So now you know essentially what these info stealers are going to be grabbing. And of course, you now know what they're going to potentially use this data for. It's not good. You don't want your passwords out there. You don't want your bank details out there. You don't want your sessions from your browser out there, okay? You don't want that out there because it's not a good thing. So the trick here is to use some great software on your computer to scan your computer and to keep your Mac safe. Moonlock is built specifically for you, for our Mac users. It's going to help you detect and block malware that targets macOS. It'll also be useful against those malicious downloads, the suspicious apps, your spyware, your malware, and of course, those info stealers themselves. Moonlock is going to give you that additional layer of protection that you need. And the one thing that's great about Moonlock is it doesn't just protect your Mac which it does, it actually teaches you. It shows you the things that you could be putting on your Mac to protect your Mac, because you are also that first line of defense. So as I said, go and pick up Moonlock right now from our website, trying it completely for free for 7 days, and then go and pick it up using our YouTube 10 code. And hey, also follow along on this channel. We love protecting your Mac. macOS security is our #1 priority. So why don't you follow along, watch our other videos, click on the subscription button, click on the bell, that way you are notified of everything that we have got going on. And also let us know down below in the comments as well, give us a question, and thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you on the next video.